This leader is provided to facilitate adjustment of focus. Please be aware there are spoilers contained in this video presentation.
His name is Neo, and now he knows Kung Fu. He fights with Agent Smith to free me and you. Out in the real world, everything is covered in poo. Visual effects and shading, it was a true breakthrough.
Okay, so The Matrix was released in 1999 by Lana and Lily Wachowski. It won for Best Editing, Sound, Visual Effects, and Sound Effects.
Yeah, at the time, it was astounding. I saw that in the movie theater twice. Played hooky from work once to do it.
It was dialed into the action, the black leather, the gunfighting, just like, it was really sleek, and I was like, wow, this is like the best movie ever. I don't remember it being as corny.
If you're going to dress all your characters in shiny black leather, there's going to be a certain level of silliness that's going to be unavoidable at that point. The movie at the time seemed very cool. The machines were a very frightening antagonist. But looking at it now, man, those machines were taking it easy on the humans. How was there even a war? You'd think the humans would have been dead really quickly.
There were a lot of things where they really nailed it. Like the fight scenes were just the right amount long. There was good amount of distance in between the fight scenes. I thought the pacing was really, really strong, and that opening scene was just breathtaking. And I mean, sure, it's dated now, but I just remember it just blowing my mind.
The dojo fight scene in particular, coming from a Hong Kong action guy, amazing. Like, just fantastic.
The building lobby fight scene with the Chemical Brothers music over it is, to this day, is still outstanding. It was the first movie I'd seen that married the kind of Hong Kong action movie ethic with American action movies. Now that we've been seeing movies based on that for the last 20 years, but it's kind of the Beatles effect. It's like the Beatles sound like every other band you've ever heard because every other band you've ever heard has ripped off the Beatles.
The whole convention of pushing through the TV screen that shows up several times, I thought that move was really, really cool.
The visual aspect of going through the screen, you're right, it was absolutely groundbreaking, still fascinating to someone who recognizes what a CRT looks like. And I think you need to be over 40 for that at this point. The visual effect of the characters flowing down the screen was another one that was amazing at the time. For a period of probably 5 years after that, every computer programmer on the planet had that as their screensaver. So we can come in the morning and say, yeah, that's right, I'm a kick-ass programmer. And then we go down to do our financial database software after that.
So much in all of these movies are just like little pieces picked out of all of these like really classic, basic philosophy texts. Way to just take philosophy in a bite-sized chunk and just go, boop, there you go, and then here's that, and then okay.
If the lights flash brightly enough and the screen moves quickly enough, you won't notice the philosophy is a little bit threadbare.
It didn't dawn on me until I saw it this time that if the outside world looks like that, there's no plants at all on Earth, and the sun is blocked out, all life is gone.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
So I don't understand how, if you get out of the Matrix, that you have any air to breathe.
The humans being used as batteries already requires a bunch of hand waving if you took Physics 101. Some parts of it definitely get rough. The original explanation that the humans were supposedly being used for processing power as opposed to for energy makes more sense, but the rumor I heard was that the movie studio thought that would go over the audience's head, so they insisted they simplify the reasons for that. They simplified it from something that doesn't make sense to something that obviously doesn't make sense.
Here's the question. Is Johnny Utah contractually required to say, whoa, in every movie that he does?
What?
And he does it really well. And for somebody who doesn't age, he looks young as hell in this movie.
Yeah, he looked about 12 years old.
Well, he didn't say it when I met him.
That's another feature of this podcast is Dave gets to name drop.
Yeah.
He's a big name dropper.
When I say I met him, that's not entirely accurate. I was at a stoplight and he pulled up next to me. I was on a scooter and he was on an Orange County chopper, and he gave me a "what's up?" And I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And then he took off. But yeah, that's one of the benefits of living in Los Angeles, is that that could happen to you.
Yeah, one story that won't make it on the podcast for you. While I lived in Los Angeles, Molly Ringwald gave me the finger.
Yeah.
Similar thing in traffic. Driving along in Hollywood like a bunch of idiots, because that's what we did at the time. Some woman in a red sports car cuts us off to make a right turn. We get up next and I was like, "What the hell are you doing?" Here's Molly Ringwald. Hollywood, yay!
Having watched Memento,
On the house.
Thanks.
this was before that we realized that Carrie-Anne Moss was the worst. What pair of pants is more famous than those pants? I mean, holy mackerel.
I did have a slight problem with the utter lack of chemistry between Carrie-Anne Moss and Keanu Reeves. It's like, wait, she's in love with him?
How much chemistry does your end table and your bookcase have?
They go together.
The lamp matches the table perfectly. Oh, you're going to fall in love with the one? Why this guy? He's kind of wooden. Well, to be fair,
Well, to be fair.
To be fair.
looking at the rest of the guys on that ship, pickings were slim.
Well, Lawrence Fishburne, I said the performance that's been parodied a million times.
Let me tell you why you're here.
His performance in this was such like the perfect mystery guy, and actually I think kind of underrated, the Oracle.
Which one?
Nice.
Oh,
We're just not even going to talk about it, and we're just going to move on. People are so used to that. I am the Oracle, and I am going to be behind the curtain. And to have, she's making cookies.
Lawrence Fishburne was Ant-Man, too. So there's your Marvel.
Okay.
There you go. There we go. Hey!
A Marvel connection.
yeah. Watching the movie again after so many years, what jumped out at me now is Hugo Weaving is the highlight of that movie for me. He is just obviously having so much fun chewing on every piece of scenery he can find.
His interrogation,
I can taste your stink.
he was so disgusted. My old boss,
Mr. Anderson.
he'd say that to everybody, and then I think he hired somebody named Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
You are the worst audio engineer in the world, but I cannot fire you.
How did he not make it into the prequels? Because if he had been in the prequels, he would have been in Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and The Matrix. That's really the trinity of nerdtasticness in the 90s.
He was only in the good ones.
I assume Morpheus was trying to get people that had a purpose to get him to get to Neo and stuff. Why was Cypher? His character was useless aside from being the bad guy.
He moved the plot along just fine. He did some heavy lifting there.
If we didn't have him, they wouldn't have a movie.
I don't know. In every organization, you've got somebody that's got just a little bit of the poopy pants going on that is just full of the, this would be so much better if you all died.
I understand he definitely serves a purpose in the plot, and none of the characters get a lot of characterization. There's not a lot of deep conflicting motives going on here. It's the good guys and the bad guys. The good guys are wearing shiny leather pants, and that's all you need to know.
So much Geiger. I felt like I was in college.
Like a lot of things, it's not that the movie itself was incredibly original. It took from a lot of other sources. Anybody who's read a little bit of Cyberpunk is going to recognize 80% of the themes they have in there. But they did it really well, and it's the first time you saw it on a big screen in a really effective fashion. So, I mean, it's even 20 years later, I still find it extremely watchable. I'll happily sit and watch the first one again, and have done so recently several times. The sequels, we'll get to those later.
Big showdown with the piece of paper coming across, which was epic, like so well done. It looked so much like every Western that you've ever had in your mind. All strings and horns. You've got so much great music in this, and then just right back to a regular orchestration. What a great soundtrack. And having Rage Against the Machine at the very end, fantastic.
Rage Against the Machine getting paid by Sony.
Wouldn't that be considered selling out?
You could argue that they're reaching a much larger audience by doing so.
Then they got the ultimate revenge because you've got all these guys that are getting into politics now and using Rage Against the Machine unironically when it's really ironic, and they're able to call that out.
Was it Reagan using Born in the USA? It's like, have you listened to the lyrics of this song? You probably should.
So no ukuleles.
No
in
ukuleles,
No,
in
this
this
is very disappointing.
but
It would have
maybe-
been oddly placed in here.
it.
Well, they didn't have the carbon fiber ukes back then, because the
Back
carbon
then.
fiber uke you might be able to slide in there.
I am gonna give The Matrix 3 ukuleles. It is not the amazing thing that I remember from the day, but it's still pretty good. So
I'm gonna give it 3.5 just because I thought that it really held up, and I remember being blown away. And then a lot of the pacing is just so strong, and the fight scenes, like they spawned, 2 decades of fight scenes.
Still stands up for me. I give it 4 ukuleles, probably 3.5 because it's great, and half a ukulele because of my nostalgia for it.
Yeah, I'd give it 3.5. I mean, it was a little cornier than I remember it, but it's still a good movie and it holds up. So I still liked it. I'd watch it again.
It's over!